In today's lesson, we'll be learning about the method of substitution. In our first example, we want to translate each sentence into an algebraic equation. Stephanie has 5 more fish in her aquarium than Brett has. The two have a total of 31 fish. There are 2 people in this situation, Stephanie and Brett. We want to figure out how many fish each person has. We're going to begin with our let statements. Let S represent the number of fish that Stephanie has. Meanwhile, I'm going to say the exact same thing for Brett. Let B represent the number of fish that Brett has. Let's analyze our first sentence carefully. Stephanie has 5 more fish in her aquarium than Brett has. Stephanie can be represented by the variable of S. 5 more corresponds to plus 5. And Brett has the variable of B. Let's take a look at the second sentence. The two have a total of 31 fish. The word total corresponds to sum, and sum is addition. And 31 fish is just 31. Let's translate the first sentence into an algebraic equation. So the number of fish that Stephanie has is equal to Brett, except that she has 5 more fish. So S is equal to B plus 5. In our second sentence, we know that the two have a total of 31 fish. So if I take the amount of fish that Stephanie has and add it to the amount that Brett has, that should be equal to 31. How many fish does Stephanie and Brett have? We can figure this out with substitution. The first thing we want to do is label our 2 equations. I'm going to label this equation 1 and this one equation 2. Rewrite equation 1, which is S is equal to B plus 5. The second equation is S plus B is equal to 31. Take a close look at both equations. We want at least one variable isolated in at least one of these equations. In equation 1, you can see that the variable of S is already isolated, and it is equal to this expression, B plus 5. What we're going to do is we're going to replace this variable of S with the expression B plus 5. Before we begin, let's label these equations again. That's equation 1, that's equation 2. As mentioned before, we want to sub equation 1 into equation 2. Which means we're going to begin with S plus B is equal to 31. And then next, instead of writing S, I'm going to replace it with B plus 5 in brackets. And everything else stays the same. There's actually a 1 in front of the pair of brackets, which means we're going to have to use the distributive property, and we're going to distribute that 1 to everything within the brackets. So everything gets multiplied by 1, which means everything stays the same. So that's just B plus 5. The plus B and equal to 31 is the same as well. At this point, we want to simplify both sides of the equation, which means we are going to have to collect like terms. On the left side, you can see that B and B are like terms, which means let's put them beside each other in our next step. So B plus B, and then the plus 5 and equal to 31 stays the same. Let's continue this over here. B plus B is 2B. Again, the plus 5 and equals to 31 stays exactly the same. Remember, we want to isolate B, but B is stuck with a multiply by 2 and a plus 5. To get rid of them, I need to do the opposite operation. I'm going to get rid of the plus 5 first, which means I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides of the equation. So I'm going to have 2b plus 5 subtract 5, which is equal to 31 subtract 5. Positive 5 subtract 5 cancels out, which leaves me with just 2b, and 31 subtract 5 is just 26. Now at this point, you want to get rid of the multiply by 2, and we do that by dividing both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancels out, which leaves me with just b, and 26 divided by 2 is 13. Therefore, we've just figured out that Brett has 13 fish, but we still need to figure out how many fish Stephanie has. Now that we know that Brett has 13 fish, we can easily figure out how many fish Stephanie has. Take a look at the two equations, equation 1 and equation 2. You want to look for the equation which is a little bit more simpler or has the variable of s isolated already. And as you can see, equation 1 has s isolated already. So I'm going to say sub b is equal to 13 into equation 1. So let's start with the equation s is equal to b plus 5. Instead of writing b, I'm going to replace it with 13 in brackets. And the plus 5 stays the same. This last step should be pretty straightforward. S is equal to 13 plus 5, which is 18. Therefore, we just figured out that Stephanie has 18 fish. Let's write a concluding statement. Therefore, Brett has 13 fish and Stephanie has 18 fish. How do we know if these numbers are correct? Well, we're going to have to do a left side equals right side check for both of these equations. Don't forget, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. I'm going to say sub b is equal to 13 and s is equal to 18 into equation 1. Equation 1 was s is equal to b plus 5. I'm going to replace the s with 18 in brackets. I'm going to replace the b with 13 in brackets. Plus 5 stays the same. So the left side is equal to 18, and the right side is equal to 13 plus 5, which is 18. Therefore, the left side is equal to the right side. I'm going to do the exact same thing for equation 2. So I'm going to say sub b is equal to 13 and s is equal to 18 into equation 2. Let's begin with our equation, which is s plus b is equal to 31. Instead of writing s, I'm going to write 18 in brackets. And instead of writing b, I'm going to write 13 in brackets. Therefore, the left side is equal to 18 plus 31, which is 31. And the right side is equal to 31. So as you can see, the left side is equal to the right side. Let's wrap this up with a concluding sentence. Since left side is equal to right side for both equations 1 and 2, therefore, Brett does have 13 fish and Stephanie does have 18 fish.